The Middle East, a simple term that does not begin to describe the complexities and conflicts in this part of the world. Stretching from the North Atlantic coast of Morocco through North Africa and the Eastern Mediterranean, it's a strategically and politically sensitive region. No Arab state operates a fully democratic political system, ruled by kings, emirs, and dictators masquerading as elected presidents. There have long been calls for political reform from both within and externally.
33 years are enough. Please go out.
Lack of political participation, high unemployment, and government corruption have cultivated an atmosphere of social unrest.
Very often, you see, there was this view that social unrest was only a consequence of economic deprivation, that if you give them bread, then there will be no protests. But the issues in the Middle East today are not only about bread, they are not only about employment. There are underlying political, issues at stake in the Middle East.
The twin pillars of expanded access to social media and Al Jazeera, the Arabic news channel based at Doha, have documented and provided platforms for popular uprisings which have swept the region.
No doubt that the access to information by the people, the young people across the region, has helped to galvanize support and activism toward change. People within seconds can send a message, can send a report, can convey an event to their counterparts in various parts of the region.
Before Al Jazeera, audiences within and outside the Middle East relied mainly on the coverage of CNN and the BBC as their primary news sources. News was captured by reporters who were often on the other side of a conflict.
When it was launched in '96, the most of our Arab countries has no ideas about freedom of press and freedom of opinion, etc. And most of our opinion leaders and opposition leaders are abroad or in jail, so that we have no tradition at all to watch an opposition leader talk about the situation in his country. Lots of Arab leaders and Arab regimes thought that if you are going to talk about Israel, about United States, it's okay, fair enough. Talk as much as you can and as strong as you can. But please try to avoid any talk, any discussion about our countries.
Conflict zones make the Middle East a difficult and dangerous place to report from. Opposing agendas, military occupations, and unrest make it tough to work without fear of persecution by powerful interests. Controlling information becomes crucial, and journalists not put in place by the government or embedded with the soldiers can often become targets themselves.
أطوار الزينة وراحت، هاي راتها أطوار، لا هاي ديني فلوس أدفع عمري أدفع، بس اختالوها ليش؟ ليش اختالوها؟ اختالوها أنا ما عندي غيرها.
استشهادها دليل على أنه زميلة أطوار بهجت مثل إعلاميات كثيرات قررنا أو قررت أن تخوض هذه المعركة رغم كل مصاعبها.
Those journalists who were embedded, quote unquote, with the occupying forces, they had access, easy access to events on the ground. Those, however, who were not embedded and accompanying the invading forces failed to do so. And as a result, we know several journalists were killed in Iraq during the very early stages of the war.
We spoke to Taysir Aloni, the only journalist to interview Osama bin Laden, who was then placed under house arrest for 7 years in Granada, Spain.
During the jail, When they arrest me, they interrogate me about that interview with Osama bin Laden, saying at the same time that it's nothing to do with your job as a journalist. But even though they asked me a lot of questions about that interview, and during the jail, they dedicate 45 minutes interrogating me about that interview. And in the accusation, they say that that I was collaborating with Al-Qaeda, and then they say that it's nothing to do with my job.
The capture and detention of Al Jazeera cameraman Sami Al-Haj is yet another example of severe limitations on press freedom.
Ask me why you make interview with Osama bin Laden. I told them I didn't make an interview, and who make an interview is Taysir Al-Loni. He's from Kabul, and I was covering from Kandahar. So from the beginning, the USA people, they know, they stopped me by mistake. At last they decide to send me to Guantanamo. In same thing, they think that if I get my release, so I will talk in the media, and everything will be clear. And USA at that time, they didn't want anybody to talk about what they're doing in Afghanistan. At the same time, they trying to, and they asked me to work with them. They told me we will give you the nationality of USA, and we'll take care about your family, and we'll give you money and everything. We support you. Just we need you to return back to your college at Jazeera and work, and to be spy for CIA.
Didn't accuse him anything, just torture him and interrogate him. And they pick him up to Guantanamo. He spent 7 years, and they release him without accuse him anything, without accusation. So we don't know Sami Al-Haj, why he was being arrested, why he was being released.
Following the burning of Bouazizi sparking the recent wave of revolutions, social media networks became an essential tool for organizing the people. Inspired by the events that took place in Tunisia, Egypt soon followed suit, using Facebook and Twitter to spread the word.
فرصتكم أيها الشباب التونس، تستطيعون أن تقدموا إلى تونس ما لم نقدم لها نحن، لأننا هرمنا من أجل هذه اللحظة التاريخية. الشعب التونسي ما يموتش، الشعب التونسي العظيم، تحيا تونس الحرة، المجد الشهداء، الحرية للتواسة، بن عليها رب، بن عليها رب.
User-generated content has opened up other avenues, capturing moments that would normally be missed, such as this now famous clip of a diplomatic car killing 20 people as it raced through the streets of Cairo.
There's always been user-generated content, and it's quite often the best picture on a story. It just so happens that there is so much more user-generated content now because it's all shot on mobile phones, and the internet and Facebook and Twitter, is the way that it can be disseminated very quickly.
Citizen journalism may make everybody in Egypt during the revolution a journalist or a freelancer, talking about what happened really in the streets, the reality, without any limits.
The recent conflict in Libya, following a wave of mass protests, has claimed the lives of several journalists and cameramen. But there can be no revolution without people, and people organize around the stories they tell each other. The story is changing, but whose story will it be?